Hello everyone, this is my first video of the year 2022, so I wish you a happy new year. I hope that, this year is going to be amazing and much better than the last one. Side note, we have crossed 1000 subscribers, so thank you a lot for all the subscribers and all the people who have watched and shared my tutorials. It is amazing. So for me, 1000 subscribers was quite a psychological threshold. So from now on, I plan to put much more efforts into this channel. So thank you a lot. I have received quite some requests for future videos, and don't worry, those are work in progress. It's just that this period of the year was a bit complicated for me for personal reasons, but all that is work in progress. But let's start with something more simple, and it's a React state management library, basically. The library I'm mainly using in my work pretty much every time is Peasy, which is based on Redux. And Peasy has a very nice alternative as well called Zustand. So we're going to see those into details, but first let's maybe introduce a bit why do we even need a store management library. So a state management is like a global database, global brain for your React app. It's where everything that needs to be shared between several components is stored, so everything is nice and organized. The main library in the state management world is of course Redux. You probably have heard about it, but it's very, very boilerplate. There's a lot of code to do to be able to even do something. They have made an improvement with Redux toolkit, but it's still quite complex, I think. There's another alternative that is quite common that's used by Coinbase. I think it's called Mobx, but it's also boilerplate, and there's a lot of those. There are new library like Recoil. Really, there's a lot of those, and for me as a developer, the most important things, there will be two things. First of all, the support for tools. So how good a library works with existing tools, and the community. So, and of course the ease of use that is for kind of a granted requirement. So first of all, there's a bunch of those, and how do you choose? Well, most of the time, if you don't know, you should probably go with Redux because it's the industry standard a bit. However, plain Redux is a bit of a pain in the ass to work with, so there are a lot of libraries that simplify that, and my favorite ones is Peasy. So the name is a bit funny, but basically what it does is that it takes Redux and it simplifies to its maximum, and basically a Peasy app becomes that. It's as easy as that. You don't need to define actions, you don't need to define reducers. It's simple, it's easy. Zustand does something similar. It also have an object and simple, easy. The only two downsides of Zustand, well, first of all, if you're using Zustand, it's easy to start, but it's much more tricky to scale. While for Peasy, it's a bit harder to start, but not honestly, it's quite simple. But it's a bit more boilerplate. Just a bit, but it scales so well and it's so clean compared to Zustand, I think, and I'll show you why. And second thing is that computed values, so values derived from the store, I don't like how they work in Zustand. I don't think they're work at all. There's not such a concept. You just create a function, and I'm not sure it's the way it's supposed to be, but we'll get into that in a second. So first of all, state management has become much more easy, compared to 5 years ago. Because 5 years ago, you would put what? You would put maybe your forms in the store, and you would put API requests using thongs, and you have all those libraries with thongs, Saga, and it was a pain. Now, what we have, if you're using a REST API, is a React query that caches your data, that refetches automatically, that does all the crazy thing that most people are not even aware of. And yeah, if you're using your REST API, use React query. And if you're using GraphQL, of course, use Apollo. It is great. Apollo actually has a module to fetch REST API as well. So if you really want to kind of stay into the GraphQL world, they have tools for that. Yeah, without further ado, let's get started. First of all, popularity. Well, Zustand is much more popular than Easy Peasy. I think it's because of the branding. So people see that nice funny beer and they say, yeah, we'll try Zustand, and then they create a simple store, and it's so easy because you don't need to provide a store provider. You just import it into your React app, and that sounds cool, and that's why people start. Sadly, as sad as it sounds, most people are not very good with code, or they just handle simple problems. Most people haven't handled like complex apps. They do a demo, they do a small application like a to-do app, and they're happy. But there's much more to building a React app. As your React app grows, you have several stores, you have various problems that you need to solve. So Easy Peasy, Zustand, I think it's good for small projects. If you have something big, it actually becomes more boilerplate than Easy Peasy. But enough of me talking. Let's just go and jump into the code and see with our own eyes how it works. So what do we have here? I have made a simple app. By the way, before we kind of jump into code, feel free to subscribe and like this channel, and like this video, share it. It will help me a lot to do more videos, because honestly they take a lot of my time, like hours and hours, because I really want to put out amazing content. But that being said, feel free to not like it if you don't like it, of course, and let's jump straight in. So we have two kind of components. We have the Zustand store and Easy Peasy store. This one is a number of to-dos in the store, and it's a computed value. This uses kind of Zustand, all that uses Zustand store, and all that uses Easy Peasy store. So if I add a new to-do, get some bear, and it is added here, and same thing with Easy Peasy. I just added some to-do, and Easy Peasy comes by default with the Redux devtools enabled. So if I click here, we will see that we have our action name, add to-do. Maybe I can zoom. Yeah, I can't really zoom in here, and we have our array here and to-dos count as a computed value. So let's go into code, and again, as always with the code, it will be on GitHub in the description below, so feel free to download it, fork it, clone it. I don't mind, do whatever you want, as long as you learn. So I have a basic project. It uses Tailwind CSS. It has Typescript support, because Typescript for React rocks. And we have two components, as we have seen, Zustand to-dos and Easy Peasy to-dos. The component itself, it's not anything special, to be honest. It just has the store of Zustand here in this case, action and computed value. It has an input for capturing that value that we update, and it has a handle that sends actually that calls the function of the store, of the Zustand store called add to do, and as soon as we press it, it does its magic, right? And then we set the input to blank, so we reset it. And yeah, pretty simple. Here's a map, so we map all the to-dos by their ID, and we render it here in a to-do card component, which is just some white background color and text a title. So nothing very fancy. Easy Peasy, it's the same idea. It just uses the Easy Peasy store. But let's go ahead and jump into the store in details, so we can see how they work in parallel. So first of all, I put my stores into the store. Easy Peasy is inside Easy Peasy, of course, and Zustand in Zustand. There's a type file that stores the type of to-do, since I'm using Typescript, and both of them will kind of import it. Let's go into Zustand, because Apparently it's the most popular and easy to set up. And let's open the easy peasy thing here. So yeah, for Zustand store, I have defined an interface that will just store the to-dos array, a to-do count kind of computed value that will be a function. There's no way of setting just a number in Zustand. It will be problematic, it doesn't work. So it needs to be a function. And we have an add to-do kind of action that will push the to-do into the to-dos array. And this is our initial state, right? And I destructure the initial state inside the Zustand store. And Zustand store takes two arguments, set and get. This will allow us to set the store. You can set any value of the store, and this will allow us to get the store. You can get any value of the store with that just by calling it get, and set is like that. You pass the value you wanna change. It takes a callback that takes a state parameter, and the state will point to that current state. Yeah, I hope that was clear. So basically, feel free to try it out. It's quite simple once you get it. So that's it. That's about it for Zustand. You just define an object. You call create. I provided an interface because it's Typescript, and that's it. Our store is working. So all you need to do is to import that store inside your component. So if we go to Zustand to-dos, I have imported that uStore from Zustand. And you don't need any provider, you just import it from an object. And that's, I think, what excites people a lot, is that it's very easy to start with. But if you take a look at the easy peasy, it's on the right actually. Easy peasy is a bit more complicated in the sense that we also define an interface, we have computed values. But the nice thing about that is that easy peasy is aware that we want to create a computed value, so it will not be a function, it will be a computed value, and the way it updates is handled by easy peasy for us. So there's some possibility of optimization here, and we have it add to do action because don't forget that easy peasy is built on top of Redux, so it simplifies Redux a bit. Or quite a bit actually, but the same concepts actually are there. There are functs, there are actions. Actions can change the state, and functs can call other actions in the sense. And we also have an initial state. We destructure it in the store, and we have a to-dos count that is computed. So that's how you do it in easy peasy. And add to do is an action. So it takes the state, so the current state, and the payload that you want to pass in a way, and that will be a to-do because we define the payload here. Yeah, so that's about it. Another thing is that store you need to import it as a provider, so nothing really fancy, honestly. Like we do that with Apollo, we do that with a lot of library. I don't see why it would be a problem to just import that store provider, store in a store provider, and that's it, right? One thing that is a bit tricky, but honestly is quite easy, is that if you're using Typescript and you want to have the auto-completion of a story, you need to kind of create typed hooks. So it's as simple as that. You just import the easy peasy interface that we have created here, and you put it as a generic in create typed hooks, and you just export that. And in your app, you use store state and use store actions. Instead of using the hooks that come from easy peasy, you just use the hooks that come from here. And that's it. You will have auto completion for Typescript. And let's open the components. So easy peasy to-dos and Zustand to-dos. Let's open them side by side. And let's see how the stores is imported. So for easy peasy, it is you don't import the state and the actions in the same way, so just two functions. I think it's a good idea because honestly, when you have a store with a lot of values, you don't want to be confused, and this makes it very easy to understand what is the state, what is the computed values computed and state are fetchable from useStoreState, and actions and thunks are fetchable from useStoreActions, and that's how you do it basically. In Zustand, it's everything comes from the same store basically, so it's a bit more simple, and it works well for, like as I said, small application. But if you want to do anything of substance, I think you need to have something that kind of enforces more structure, and structure is always good. If you let a junior developer develop some Express app or React app, it will be a mess. And I've seen that a lot of time. If we don't have conventions, if we don't have a kind of a semblance of a framework, a set of rules that we need to follow, it will be a mess. So, and that's pretty much it, right? That's pretty much it. Nothing really fancy. I would say, yeah, why would you use one against another? Against, it's all about the scope of the project. So if it's really something small, like a demo app or like a prototype, or really small, you can use Zustand, it's fine. If you start to have several stores, like user store, auth store, I don't know, something else, you will have to use, I think, Easy Peasy. That will simplify your life. If you want to have good debugging, for instance, if you want to use that properly, that devtools, which I think is like the cornerstone of Redux development, is super useful, right? You might use Easy Peasy. So yeah, let's go ahead and illustrate the two things I don't like about Zustand. And let's open the store Zustand. So I don't like this, the computed value. I don't like the fact that it's a function. I want it to be a number, because I don't want to call a computed something that should be a computed value. I don't want to call it. I just want to have it like that, and I want the store to update it. So that I don't like. And second thing I don't like is that let's disable Easy Peasy, because Easy Peasy is using our Redux devtools, and I want Zustand to use Redux devtools. So if both are using Redux devtools, that's going to be a mess. Let's go ahead and disable the provider, and don't import Easy Peasy. Right, I think, yeah, we only have Zustand store, and Zustand comes with middlewares. We can import it there. Import from Zustand middleware, and that's going to be devtools. Here we go, and you just need to wrap your store object. And maybe I actually need to wrap it around the whole thing. Yeah, I need to actually wrap it around the whole callback function. So that being said, let's go here back and rename it, and I'll open it here on the right, so we can see the Redux thing, and we see that initial state is to-dos, and it has a ID of 1 and add Zustand to-do. So if we want to add something like a new to-do, what we see here is that, well, it worked, but the action name is anonymous. So that's a bit of a bummer. And if we want to name that function, we actually need to go and provide a name and add to do. So I think, you see, that makes the whole thing very verbose and not nice at all. Like here you see that it's add to do and our to dos have been updated, but this whole logic, not only we have a level of indentation here because we call a function, but also we need to add those fields to have something that should be actually working by default, right? And of course, if we want to have like devtools, let's actually also go ahead and provide the configuration for our devtools, name Zustand. So our Zustand is called Zustand here, and yeah, same problem. Those actions, we need to name them specifically, and you see how something very simple actually becomes quite verbose and quite unreadable for me. Well, if you come back to easy peasy, and let me actually disable those devtools. By the way, they have other middlewares like persist. If you want to persist the data in local storage, for instance, just need to add another function call here, which will actually make it less readable. But let's go ahead and clean the devtools. I want to use easy peasy for the devtools. And what is happening here? Oh yeah, of course, since we're not providing devtools, we don't need to do that. So if we want to try it out with easy peasy to see how provide it again, easy peasy store, and yeah, I need to hide it a bit. Here we go. So now it's it has easy peasy in it. Add easy peasy to do, and as we add a new to do, the function, the action is actually called automatically action add to do. So we don't need to do anything. It just configures it for us. So that's like two main winning points, actually three. The thing that you don't need to name the actions, and if you check at the to do store, it's so readable compared to the horror that we had on Zustand with all those 4 parameters. And that's one thing. Second thing, I don't like how computed values are computed in Zustand. And yeah, that's pretty much it. And also easy peasy has a lot of other supports like hot reloading here, and it's much more organized, and I think that it's a good thing. It's not a bad thing. Yeah, so here's my take on those two libraries. Zustand is of course more popular, but I think that easy peasy overall is a better solution, and that provides you better tools, and for almost nothing. Like, you just need to create one file that you can literally copy paste that if you're using Typescript. If you're not using Typescript, you don't even need that, and you just need to use those things again if you're using Typescript. If you're not using Typescript, you don't need that. So that makes easy peasy actually a very good solution for me, and the go-to library for all my projects, simply because it's built on top of Redux and it has these Redux tools that you can just use for you. And yeah, that's my take on it. I hope you liked this tutorial, and yes, feel free to like it, subscribe to my channel, leave a comment. If you have a question, I'll answer to those comments. And yeah, have a happy new year, guys, and see you later.